Long story, and maybe we'll get into it. But right now, Bitcoin itself as well is having a little bit of a dump. And as we've been talking about for the past 3 or 4 weeks, revisiting and even going below 20K, specifically down to even the $18,000 range, is something that I've been saying is very likely. But again, another thing I think is important about this is that you see the Bitcoin price kind of going down over the last few days, specifically over the last 12 hours or so. But you also see that news coming with it, right? The New York AG, just like we always see. I feel like every time we get a move to the downside or like a dump, it's usually always, there's always then news that comes out after it. It's usually not first, except in the case of something like FTX, right? If we look at Bitcoin's longer term chart, though, we're still holding on the top of this gigantic, like year and a half long falling wedge. So in that sense, not much has really changed, right? We're below one of the key moving averages here, but overall, this structure is still intact. Also, though, we do see if we do actually go below the 20K level, according to Matt Hyland here, the 3-day super trend floor currently sits roughly about 20K, which is kind of like right where we're at. And yeah, we could potentially see this flip into a bearish territory, which again, I personally think, that will happen if we end up having a pullback down to the $18,000 range. And in the short term, again, I think it has the potential to create the biggest bear trap there is. But it's still very early in this trend. But we are seeing the price trying to find some stability as it goes lower, and we have not seen that over the last few days. This is also the highest amount of long liquidations in 12 hours, the highest amount in a 12-hour period of 2023. Almost 100 million in Bitcoin long liquidations in 12 hours. So we've seen a lot of short liquidations. This is the very first big long liquidation. So that's definitely big. And as we mentioned, KuCoin crypto exchange sued by the New York AG Attorney General here. Again, I don't find that particularly interesting because we're seeing this kind of become news in the midst of Bitcoin already dumping for the last few days. And we've also stalled out over the last even longer than that, like week or so. Yeah, but if we zoom in on Bitcoin's chart, this is gigantic falling wedge here. If we zoom in easy, get real close here, this, it gets crazy here, right? Coming into this 200-day moving average, can Bitcoin find support there? We do have a bearish cross now with a 21 crossing below the 50. So again, that can get pretty big. Ultimately, though, I think there are absolutely some very key levels of support. Obviously, as we've been talking about, the $18,000 and $19,000 range has huge levels of support. So to say we're about to breach new lows is absolutely bananas at this point. But I do think, as I've been saying for weeks and weeks, we are going to see Bitcoin below 20K, and that's where the real test comes in, if it can actually have any bouncage there. And I'm pretty excited to see that. Now, for everybody watching these videos, my time is like totally messed up because I'm like 15 hours. I switched I'm in Asia, so I'm like 15 hours different from what I usually am. I'm not sure if anyone's going to be able to catch this video because it's not absolutely at all the usual time that my audience watches. But yeah, speaking of that, I almost did dump on myself last night. We were at the train station. We had just eaten, and I got the biggest bellyache of all time out of nowhere, and I went into a bathroom. It was kind of dirty, so I left, but I knew it was bad because within 10 seconds I decided, you know what, I'm going to have to use that bathroom. There was no toilets. It was a squatty potty, so I basically sat 4 inches above the ground and completed a massive Bitcoin dump. And so I think that's a really good analogy for what might have to happen here as well. And that's what I'm really excited about. So, yeah,